Hey guys, so today we're only going to read half of this book today, the other half tomorrow. The book is called Circle Unbroken. It is by Margot Theus Raven, and pictures are by E.B. Lewis. Now you've asked me, child, how I come to sew. Well, put yourself in Grandma's arms and listen to a circle tale from long, long ago. Once your old-timey grandfather lived in a village by a fine flowing river across a wide, deep ocean in faraway Africa. On the hills of the river grew pale stalks of rice to feed the village and the spirits in the land. By the banks of the river grew tall, grassy reeds to weave into baskets to winnow the rice. One day after harvest, when he was no longer a boy, but not yet a man, your old-timey grandfather was led by the men who lived in the village to a grove in the forest where the palm trees grew. It was their sacred place, the Poro bush, not far from the rice and the fine flowing river, where the men beat their drums and the boy became a man. Can you bring water in a basket? A masked spirit asked him there. When he answered yes, the men of the village took him to the grove, gave him a name, and taught him all they knew, just as I'm teaching you. They taught him to make ropes and nets and traps, to hunt in the woods and harrow and hoe, to make drums from logs, to pound as he danced, and to sew great baskets to hold the rice. The basket starts here, they said, and taught his fingers to talk, to make a knot first, a coil, a circle unbroken. When his basket grew and grew, circle on circle, coil on coil, and when his fingers talked just right, and the wet season came, his basket held the rain, and the men were pleased, just as I am pleased with you. But the wide, deep ocean held the rain too, and the rain fell bitter as your grandfather's tears. Then the slave men came and bound him in chains and stole him from his village to a ship bound for a strange new land. In the port of Charleston, he was put on a stand and heard the auction man cry, "Going fast, going slow, going high, going low." He was sold to a master who owned a great plantation by a long curving river that flowed to the ocean, that touched the shores of his faraway Africa. He lived in a shanty shingled with cypress. He worked in the rice fields from day clean to sun go red. But long night after long day, he sewed baskets in the old way. From the bulrush that whooshed and hushed by the marshes and the rivers that flowed to the sea. The grasses brought him comfort. His fingers knew their secret. "Never forget," they whispered, as he sewed pimento strips in and out, around and through. His circle grew and grew, and when his fingers talked just right, his basket held the rain, and he remembered from where he came. Now, on a nearby plantation lived your old-timey grandmother who came too from a village across the wide, deep ocean, long ago when she was not yet a woman, but no longer a girl. The woman of the village took her into the sandy bush, their sacred place, and taught her all they knew. She learned to grow a garden of cassava and sweet potatoes, to fish with nets when the river was low, to winnow rice in a fan or basket, tossing the grains up fast and slow. And she learned to sew small baskets to hold the treasures of her hut, ginger, palm fruit, and cola nuts. And when her fingers talked just right, each coil touched so tight, her basket held the rain. One day, in the shadow of the big house, your old-timey grandfather wed your old-timey grandmother. They had children, and the babies slept in the sun, in Moses' baskets, while the field work was done. And when the babies cried, your old-timey grandmother sang to them, soft as gray moss, low as the going out tide. Then those children had children, and those children too, till one day the Yankees came with cannons sounding, pounding, booming over the land. What's going on, Grandma? The children cried. Freedom, she said. Okay, so we're going to stop there for today, but I did want to ask, let me see, I did want to ask some questions for you guys to think about. So, the winnow rice means to get rid of the inedible husks. So people toss the baskets with rice in them, and then the lighter husk blew away. That's what that means whenever they say the winnow baskets, or the winnow rice, to winnow rice. Okay, and then did you notice how they described the basket? The basket in a circle unbroken. I'm also seeing a story pattern. Did you guys see that story pattern? Because it was saying a line after each scene is a bigger type of basket, right? Hold up the, okay, so, and then what do you think the writer doing this refrain? Why is the writer doing this? Why does he go into bigger and bigger and bigger? Okay, so, and then although these family members were slaves, the writer doesn't focus much on the details of that. What is the focus in that part of the story? So I want you to think about that. And then what do we think is going to happen? Okay, think about those questions, and then we will be back on part 2 tomorrow.